We are here today to show our solidarity with No King Marchers and to honor our good friend Jim Moreno, the social justice poet of San Diego, who passed away in December. We have 8 presenters with about 5+ minutes. I begin today by saying poets cannot expect a place at society's table in exchange for a song or a humorous tale. Today's conditions require writers to support fascism or to take a stand against fascism. We can no longer hide behind the abstract claim that we're liberal or conservative. There is no longer a left or right, Democrat or Republican. There are only fascists and anti-fascists. Our words lose their meaning unless our public actions, our votes support the virtues of industry, which is releasing our poetry into the world, and support our other virtues of generosity and patience, and we temper our behavior with compassion and empathy. We need to reject those reciprocal virtues of self-interest, stinginess, cruelty that Donald Trump and the current Republican Party projects as good citizenship. These reciprocals lead corporations, religious leaders, and citizens to acquiesce and enable our fascist leaders to initiate policies based on racism and anti-Semitism and nationalism. Today's Christians need to ask themselves the same question Christ asked. What good does do a person to go to church, read the Bible, if they lose their moral compass? There is no clear voting path. The good news, at least for conservatives, is that the libertarians since the 60s have been building a party from the ground up. Currently, they have over 150 elected officials. But more importantly, they have shown that when their numbers grow to above 2%, they influence the Republican Party. The Tea Parties and MAGA are proof of this. Imagine if moral conservatives supported the Libertarian Party. Still, this is only one way for us to work together. And I believe, and maybe you do too, that we must fight fascism because we owe it to the Tuskegee Airmen, Dr. King, Malcolm X, and those who died during World War II at Normandy and in the Philippines, as well as Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Iran. However, political affiliation is not what I want to talk about. Neither do I want to talk about ICE, those mass murderers. I know the Republicans would like me to say act as if the brutality of their massed enforcement is a fairy tale, as if ICE acts according to the law, and their actions are a mark of courage when they hold a person down, shoot them in the back 7 times, shoot a woman in the face. I cannot approve ICE for any of their actions. I cannot give my approval because what is important to me seems to be of little importance to most conservatives. My belief that everyone is equal and entitled to equal treatment before the law, that our country guarantees everyone a just trial, that racial, ethnic, and religious profiling is an affront to human law and to the law, most high law. I cannot stand it. Children sent to prison while percentage of progressives and most conservatives acquiesce to it. Home invasions while percentage of progressives and most conservatives acquiesce to it. Beatings of women and children with nightsticks. I think about all the virtuous people I know who refuse to vote against the fascist Republicans and enables all the crimes against humanity that the ruling party has perpetrated in the last year. Their excuses are barely palatable. I think about all the good people who have turned their back on justice. With every step and breath, I think about the good Americans whose votes or their failure to vote have enabled murder, torture, and other crimes that the ruling party commit. Even in my sleep, my soul cries out not only for justice, but for Americans to find the courage to do the right thing. My name is Joe Malash, and I stand behind what I believe. Yeah. Thank you. And now, if you would introduce yourself when you come up, and then do whatever you want.
Lonnie Eisen, and this came across my newsfeed today by one of my Sundance sisters, and I just thought it was so profound that she was speaking from Michael Yoakum's material, and he's a drummer, singer, songwriter, activist. He played drums for Jackson Browne, he was in Korn, a lot of different musicians. But he also is an advocate for disabled musicians. He was an advocate for a lot of different things, so I want to give honor where honor is due. But I'm going to read his writing today. I used to wonder how it was possible that Trump could have won 2016 and then again 2024, given how emotionally toxic and depraved he is. I don't wonder anymore. I think he won for the exact reason, because he carried at least one broken shard to reflect the broken shards in millions of others. If you're a racist, you found your guy. If you're a misogynist, you found your guy. If your money is your religion, you found your guy. If your heart is armored shut, you found your guy. If you mock the disabled, you found your guy. If intelligence makes you insecure, you found your guy. If you trade in humiliation and conspiracy and filth, you found your guy. If you've never done a single hour of emotional inventory, you found your guy. If you cheat and stiff contractors, bankrupt your obligations and call it savvy, you found your guy. If you lie as easily as you breathe, you found your guy. If cruelty feels like strength, you found your guy. If white grievance is your comfort food, you found your guy. If your ego is a black hole no one can fill, you found your guy. If warmongering fuels your ego, you found your guy. If empathy feels like weakness and dominance feels like oxygen, you found your guy. If he only carried one or two of these pathologies, he might have been dismissed as just another loud, damaged man, but he carried a buffet of them. That was the appeal. Millions could locate themselves somewhere in the wreckage. They didn't have to agree with all of it. They just had to recognize a piece of themselves in it. It was never really about him. It was about the validation, the absolution, the permission. He didn't invent the resentment, he amplified it. He didn't create the cruelty, he normalized it. He gave millions the intoxicating relief of hearing their ugliest impulses echoed back and rally volume. Trump is a symptom. The deeper illness is the collective. If there's one sentence that defines his power, it's this: he says the things that I'm thinking. And that's the part that should chill us all. Because what does it say about us that so many were thinking these things, that tens of millions of Americans harbored resentment so deep, so seething, that they were simply waiting for a demigod to baptize them as virtue? That after decades of supposed progress on race, gender, and equity, So many white men left so threatened, so displaced, so furious, that cruelty became a political platform. Maybe we were living in a fool's paradise, mistaking silence for healing, politeness for progress. But now the mask is off, and now we know. And knowing is a far more dangerous place to stand. Thank you for that.
My name is Jack Stewart Smith, and I stand for righteousness and love, kindness, mercy, things that our administration doesn't seem to understand. White Christian nationalism is a serious problem, and it can't be denied. This is a poem I wrote about Jesus. Dear humans, he did not die for our sins. He died because of our sins. It is a story of fabrication to make a man a god, to create a following, to begin a church, to retain power. This great man had to be martyred. Truth may be, he stood against oppression. He loved all humans. He taught forgiveness. He spoke of grace. He never asked to be worshiped. I must tell you now, Jesus is not coming. Yes, I'm very sorry, but he is not coming. Dear humans, please listen. He's not coming because he's already here. And because of his appearance and the color of his skin, plus being an illegal immigrant, he's been detained, or maybe deported, most likely disappeared. If I had if I had you in my arms, sweet Jesus, if I had If I had you in my arms, sweet Jesus, they dragged him from his car and threw him to the ground. Mass thugs, he chained him. They threw him to the ground. They never knew his name. No, no. They threw him to the ground. They took him far away and threw him to the ground. If I had, if I had, if I had you in my arms, sweet Jesus, they didn't like the color of his face. They threw him to the ground. like the color of his race. They threw him to the ground. In a Christian world, they threw him to the ground. 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 In a Christian world, they threw him to the ground. In a Christian world, they threw Jesus, they threw him to the ground. They threw him to the, in a Christian world, they threw Jesus to the ground.
I'm Deborah Ramos, and as Jim Moreno always used to say, be a voice for the voiceless. And that's what artists and musicians and creatives do. So this poem is called, I Frankensteined together pieces from different speeches by Red Cloud, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Angela Davis, Nina Simone, Ella Baker, just to name a few. It's called My Name is Revolutionary, which I wrote in 2018 when Trump was doing this shit before. Anyhow. This is called My Name is Revolutionary, or Nobody Builds Walls Better Than You. We are witness to the Mad King and his court of fools and smiling white Uncle Toms. The Mad King, a strange and bitter crop where evil and decay is shut up in his bones. Somewhere I read about the freedom of assembly, not the freedom to use a car as a weapon in a peaceful crowd. Somewhere I read about the freedom of speech, not the freedom of racist tweet rants. Somewhere I read about the freedom to seek asylum, not the freedom to take babies from their mothers at the borders. There is trouble across this land, home of the privileged and oppressed. Some are faint with hunger, weak from confusion, and maddened by despair. But the Mad King's soldiers keep coming. They kill young black men on cell phones. They drill under rivers and poison the waters of sacred land. They dismantle women's choices. They burn down mosques and turn over taco trucks. History cannot be deleted. We are standing on ground zero in the struggle for social justice. No dogs, water hoses, or tear gas will turn us around. We will rise with a greater readiness. We will march with a greater determination. Our voices will crack open the sky, and acid rain will pour down proud backs, straight and tall. The Mad King can't ride our back unless it's bent. One more.
Well done.
Educate, agitate, and organize. Walls of people, walls of signs, walls of Me Too, walls of women line up to accuse their perpetrators, scream out their America. America's humbled masses march through streets with dogs, babies, and wheelchairs, teaching moments for young girls and their fresh power, wise crones leading with bloody signs from other wars. Women scarred from abortions, choices, assaults, being silenced, being less, feeling more. Walls of poetry and poets writing clever verses, tapping out polemics. The Mad King walls in brown children. Chain link fences separate families at dusty borders that smell like bull rings. Our raised voices and clenched fists pound down the mortar and punch holes through the silence.
This is a poem I wrote called I'll See You Soon. I'll see you soon when this democracy is over. I'll see you soon when the fascists come for us in October. We'll be there together. And it will be our last stand. No one will make it out alive. Not one woman and not one man. We'll hold hands and sing songs about how things used to be, how fragile our world, how precious our democracy. I'll see you soon when this is all over. I'll see you soon when the fascists come for us in October. We'll scale the bullet-torn ramparts, and there will be blood in the sky, and with sadness in our hearts and tears in our eyes. For we held on as long as we could, but nothing lasts forever. We held on as long as we could. We shouldn't have thought of ourselves as being so very clever. I'll see you soon, but you may not recognize me, because the country we love will no longer be. Well, you'll say farewell, my dear friend, and I'll say, let us fight, let us struggle until the very end.
Yeah.
Because for you and I, this is how the democracy dies. Thank you.
My name is Cora. The time has come once more for us all to put weight into that which all beings on this planet partake in. I believe it's time to take inventory of that which is truly necessary for humanity to take note of what which we truly need to liberate ourselves and our neighbors from the current modality of needless disparity, police brutality, poverty, and war. I am afraid that the time has come to put stock into resisting oppressive empires with all of our strength, our courage, our love. I'm afraid the movement is rough. That is not a walk in the park as we so desire change to be. But we must change. We must place ourselves on the scales, stand in the sights of overreaching powers so corrupt by greed and hatred, of tyranny, impunity, and profit, of false authority running rampant like a wildfire on the wind. And we must stomp out every spark that we see. We must stay vigilant. For there are men once again who incite fear without regard to the suffering that follows. There are men once again sowing seeds of division among us all, spreading their propaganda of false prophets, capitalistic comforts, apathetic conquests, our peace of mind, our hard labor and time, our children's futures rising over the horizon. There are men once again who are sick with the image of themselves. We watch the pettiness of their egos command forces to eradicate those who do not fit the image that they see in their mirrors. We have watched how the richest nations in the world, the wealthiest people in the world, spend billions to enact famine, force wars, fund weapons, surveillance, and the genocide of our fellow humans. We have watched how many billions have been emptied into the business of exploitation, conquest, and division. How many billions spent to bribe government officials to weaponize religion. How many billions to crucify all who stand and fight against injustice. The time has come once more to consider two winds, a storm of unified rebellious resistance. A resistance not of one nation, but of all peoples in every corner of the world. The troubles and terrorism we feel here in the United States of America are not isolated instances of oppression. They are those of a global genocide, resource extraction, racism, enslavement, miseducation through religious extremism, and disproportionate indoctrination of nationalism. The time is now to denounce all would-be dictators, all current leaders who control the narrative that a just world is impossible, when we know that the future holds promise, provided we hold those individuals accountable for their actions against the whole of all. We owe a new world to those who are being born today in this moment. We owe a better world, a more equal and equitable society to those who will follow in our wake. But we also owe a just world to those suffering today under a global order that wants nothing to do with the future at all. It is time to stop all short-sighted ventures whose purpose enables short-term profits at the expense of others' labors and lives. Now is the time for us to walk together as it was time before, to build a robust network of shared resources, a robust network of shared knowledge and communal well-being, at the expense of all unsustainable empires who must fall. The time is now. Where do you stand?
My name is Edwin Rendon, and I now newly form part of the San Diego Tijuana Re-evolutionary Brigade. I'm happy to be here with you all in the presence that's everywhere of our friend Jim Moreno. Fingers intact. The ceasefire celebration rifles echoed between rubbled buildings and minute shakes in children's cores, while overlooking procession of captives exchanged, not all alive, in disproportionate ratios. Evening cascaded, skim lights on, through streets now nameless, once bustle abundant. Grandmother's laundry, desert window dried, gunpowder dusted, intervals sprayed, her heirs, baby in arms, to only lift hands, fingers intact, hailing for peace when they jumped cautiously. Fractured innocence can splintered, if not watered, seed by seed, to harvest under the moonlight's brightest year. Once all Caesars have been caught or betrayed. Ojos, eyes, ice, capitals. Hielo, yellow, amarillo. Ice has come to the bloque, waking up a la neighbor when they pounded the puerta to take her esposo away. Shouting, declararon what he had cometido. But he's been reformado by the one who sees it todo. Now, repara ships, no de boats that cross borders, full of unexpected sueños, destined nación, divididos estates. Pero without fright, there's help from the mister, el del other side. Though he's of constituciones, He has armas that protect the fellow que maintains ardiente the evening café y el bread de mañana. Since his food comes from razas with manos full of maize, whole grano. For those varios platos, la gente screw themselves a buen while. Ever been to El Campo to pick and make bunches de cilantros? When the harvest calls y la rain yells deluge, they continúan wrapping that vegetal más pure. For nothing do they spray veneno. It will cut much fresco because they're bien verdes in the Unión del Barrio. Last one for you. Written also with workshops that we did with Jim Moreno in celebration of the anniversary, 54th anniversary of Friendship Park here at the binational border. And it's called Frontier Feathered Friendship. Sand stopped filtrating north of the perpetual wall, a hybrid material reaching deep sea, seeded, growing with oriental tides, always swimming towards the west, bloody rusted desert snake. But tsunamis learn to sow seaweed with wishing boulders, dragged to depths, almost forgotten between tectonic blows. Subterranean countercurrents lifted the braids to surface, lacerating the barrier made by hand into fine rubble to make vast fields of the whitest sage next to the river now breathes at full lung. With fish replete, grandparents and the wise smoked in other lands of the eagle and its oak, signaling the Andean condor, its union in winds, dispersing with every flap 500 years of obscurity, blinding all its spiritual awakening, giving light to a third bird of multilingual songs for every town to find that hidden park, harmony and peace. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Julio Cesar Aguilar. I am in Waco, Texas, and I'm going to read two poems in Spanish and then in English. En la patria que los niega. No hay frontera más alta que el hambre, ni muro que detenga al hijo recordando la suavidad de un abrazo, el nombre de su madre envuelto en la sombra de una cocina iluminada por la fe. Cruzan con un puñado de palabras como si fueran semillas en el bolsillo. Trabajo, escuela, esperanza, futuro. Y en cada jornal entregan lo que no tienen, la piel rendida al sol, las manos que aprenden otro idioma solo para nombrar la dignidad. En las avenidas del norte su paso es invisible para muchos, pero en el polvo de las fábricas y en el fulgor de los campos abiertos, el país se respira del aire que ellos siembran. De noche, ¿acaso? Recuerdan la voz de la abuela llamando desde un patio, los perros ladrando en la lejanía, la lluvia breve que cae sobre el tejado. Son memorias que resisten la intemperie, raíces aún vivas en la herida de la distancia. Y aunque digan que no pertenecen a nada, Ellos sostienen con un solo gesto la orilla de la patria que los niega y el sueño de la patria que aún inventan. In the homeland that denies them, there is no border higher than hunger, nor any wall that can stop a child remembering the softness of a hug, the name of their mother wrapped in the shadow of a kitchen illuminated by faith. They cross the border with a handful of words, like seeds in their pockets. Work, school, hope, future, and each day they give what they don't possess. Their skin, weathered by the sun, their hands, learning another language just to find words for dignity. On the avenues of the north, the presence is invisible to many, but in the dust of the factories and in the sunlight of open fields, the country breathes the air they saw. At night, perhaps, they remember the grandmother's voice calling from a courtyard, the dogs barking in the distance, the brief rain falling on the roof. These are memories that withstand the elements, roots still alive in the wound of distance, and though they may say they belong nowhere, with a single gesture they hold fast to the shore of the homeland that denies them, and to the dream of the homeland they are yet to create. Jim Moreno was a man who left a profound mark by bringing my poetry to public attention in the San Diego, Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade, becoming a bridge between my voice and the poets of California and beyond. Although he has passed away, he remains present in every verse he helped share, in every reader who discovered my work thanks to his generosity and support. His memory is intertwined with some of my more recent writings, as if each poem also bore his name, remembering him not only for his death, but for the luminous gesture of believing in my writing and championing it. La huella viva de Jim Moreno. Camina el aire suave por las piedras. Su voz aún vibra en cada vuelta del tiempo. No se ha ido del todo. Descansa en la palabra, porque el silencio también sabe pronunciar su nombre. Un eco tenue en la madera tibia, una risa suspendida en la tarde gris, el rumor del café recién molido, la memoria de un gesto que no cesa. Jin sembró su paso entre dos mundos, uno de luz, otro de sombra leve. Su mirada era un puente hacia lo invisible, una puerta abierta al temblor del alma. Decía que el amor no muere, se transforma, que la música cura lo que el tiempo hiere, que la amistad, si es pura, no conoce estaciones, solo raíces que siguen bebiendo llanto y sol. En los pasillos deja huellas de viento, en los libros su respiración impresa, y en cada verso que alguien repite, su pulso revive, discreto y eterno. Hay cuerpos que la diosa reclama, pero hay presencias que el fin no interrumpe. Jim está en todas las manos que tienden ayuda, en los ojos que buscan comprender sin juzgar. Tal vez ahora camina junto a las estrellas, repartiendo calma, guitarra en mano, riendo con la paciencia de los sabios, escuchando la vida que aún lo nombra. Hoy lo recordamos no con tristeza, sino con gratitud encendida por su paso compartido sobre la tierra, por su voz que aún nos enseña a vivir. The Living Legacy of Jim Moreno. The gentle breeze walks among the stones. His voice still vibrates in every turn of time. He hasn't left completely. He rests in the word for silence, too, knows how to pronounce his name. A faint echo in the warm wood, a laugh suspended in the great afternoon, the murmur of freshly ground coffee, the memory of a gesture that never fades. Jim sought his path between two worlds, one of light, the other of soft shadow. His gaze was a bridge to the invisible, an open door to the trembling of the soul. He said that love doesn't die, it transforms, that music heals what time wants, that friendship, if pure, knows no seasons, only roots that continue to drink tears and sunlight. In the hallways he leaves traces of wind. In the books his breath is imprinted, and in every verse that someone repeats, his pulse revives, discreet and eternal. There are bodies that farewell claims, but there are presences that the end does not interrupt. Jim is in all the hands that offer help, in the eyes that seek to understand without judging. Perhaps now he walks among the stars, spreading calm, guitar in hand, laughing with the patience of the wise, listening to the life that still names him. Today we remember him, not with sadness, but with fervent gratitude for his shared journey on earth, for his voice that still teaches us how to live. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Olivia Mercedes, and I want to thank you for being here, whether it's physically, digitally, or in spirit. Your energy is needed in the world. If tomorrow I have died for what I lived for today, do not be discouraged by my death. Do not let the oppressor use my corpse as a weapon against your hope. Do not let my last breath be used to silence yours. If they have killed me for caring, you better carry my casket like a compliment. It is no coincidence that the day after one of the largest protests in decades, the day after hundreds of thousands of people proved that solidarity is a verb we are not afraid to pronounce, the day after we peacefully reminded the world that we can take care of each other, the day after we chanted and sang and renewed our vows with humanity, the day after we poured into the streets and screamed, "I love you" so loudly we melted ice at 30 degrees below freezing, the day after we showed up. It is no coincidence that they shot back. That they shot Alex Preddy 10 times in 5 seconds after he defended a woman under attack. They were threatened not by him, but by his humanity, because he reached not for his legal weapon, but for her human rights. He chose not to kill, but to keep her alive, and it cost him his life, because the only thing the oppressor fears more than our fearlessness is our willingness to be fearless together. We have not endangered their lives, we have endangered their lives. They are crumbling, not beneath our use of force, but beneath our use of unity, because we are sabotaging Operation Keep Them Divided. We are proving exactly how many minorities it takes to change a majority. Do not let them erase that. We have proved that we are the majority, so if tomorrow I have died for what I lived for today, that is your proof that what you are doing is working. The love you are giving, the communities you are building, the education you are spreading, the outrage you are alchemizing into actions, the grief you are unleashing, from Keith Porter to Dr. Linda Davis, from the victims still unnamed to the ones in bunny hats, the babies in cages and the ones in their bellies, the lives hanging from trees and the ones buried in classroom debris, the ones being murdered as I am speaking. Your outrage is not just righteous, it is working. Whether it's been boiling for generations or just now sparked a stance, a late arrival is still better than facing the wrong direction. Your pivot is proof that what we are doing is working.
Yeah.
So if tomorrow I have died for what I lived for today, do not trip over my body as you grab hands and you march the fuck on. Thank you.
So now everyone knows why I went first, because I was actually the weakest and we ended with the strongest. But we did this to show today 8 poets and writers came together to show their solidarity for the No King's March on March 28th. And we're going to post this on our social media pages and solidarity with the marchers. And I want to thank everyone who showed up today. And it was a great reading.
Thank you.